One thing that's happened is many of the people getting wealthy today are highly educated. Because we live in a knowledge economy where wealth creation often comes out of ideas or happens in advanced and complicated industries, a lot of the people making the big money have advanced degrees. They're computer scientists, they're MBAs, and so you have a much more educated class of wealthy people. Over half of the people on the Forbes 400 list have advanced degrees today, whereas that was certainly not the case 30 or 40 years ago. There's much more money coming into philanthropy now. We have been living in boom times, at least for the upper class, huge concentrations of wealth at the top of the income ladder, and people have the kind of money you actually can't spend even in multiple lifetimes. So you have to give that money away. Many more billionaires in America than we had 20 years ago, and there's a lot of families with tens of millions of dollars. Thousands of families are worth over $30 million. So we've seen an explosion of philanthropy as we've seen an explosion of wealth in this country. A lot of philanthropists are concerned about the growing gap between the rich and everyone else. Inequality is a concern to some wealthy people, and I think the focus on our public schools is an example of that concern. There's a lot of philanthropists who want to make sure that there's more opportunity for the people at the bottom of the income ladder, and fixing schools and providing more assistance to go to college is one way to do that. On the other hand, what you see is the wealthy using philanthropy to increase their influence over society overall. So even if the wealthy are doing things that are aimed at making America a better place or a fairer place, they're wielding a huge amount of influence in the process. So you see a growth of civic inequality. Somebody like Bill Gates, who is so influential in education policy, well, who elected him to anything? I'm not so keen on those proposals because this is a sector that has a lot of dynamism. It's not clear how much you really want to regulate it. If you stipulated that a certain amount of money had to go to human services, say, in the philanthropic sector, that could be hard to enforce. I'm not sure that we want to get in there and start imposing a lot of more detailed regulations about how philanthropy operates. I do think it's important, though, to continually talk about the truth that so much of what is called charity in America actually doesn't get to poor people, and is going to benefit Americans who are already pretty well off. The Giving Pledge, I think, is a very exciting development. The fact that you have this high-level peer pressure on billionaires to give away more of their wealth than they might otherwise have done, I think is very significant. What it promises to do is I think accelerate the amount of money that's going to be coming into the philanthropic sector, and also ensure that a lot of those large fortunes don't just dissipate into the hands of family heirs. It's surprising, but there's a lot of money, even very big money, that you'd think would have to go to philanthropy just because it's so large in scope, but instead gets passed down to family members who don't necessarily end up giving to philanthropic causes. So the giving pledge is important, and it's also important not just for the United States but globally, because there's a huge number of new billionaires worldwide in places like India and China and Europe, and those countries don't necessarily have a history of philanthropy. And so you see Warren Buffett and Bill Gates going to those places and pushing this giving pledge. I think it's an important development.